monogram today, which means taking the first initial of your name, making it large, and splitting it in half so that we can create another word in between for your monogram, such as your first name. So let's get started. First thing we want to do is use the text. It's going to bring up a box. Since my name is Bet, I'm going to type in the B. I want to move the B up, and I'm going to make it pretty large so we can see what we're doing. And it tells me that my font size is 1023, but that's just for demonstration purposes. Now, what I want to do here is divide that B in half. So first thing we're going to do is come to some shapes. I'm going to select the square. I am going to come up here to line type color, and I want to change the color so I can see what I'm working on. So now I have a yellow one. I'm going to unlock it, and then I'm going to bring it approximately one square down, and I'm going to make a rectangle and approximately one square the other side. I just want to make it slightly larger than the letter itself, and that looks about right. So now we have a bar that goes through. It's 2 squares wider here, and by the looks of it, it's about 1.5 squares, so maybe I'll just move it out a little bit, almost to the edge here. Perfect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this in half, including the letter, and move the top part up and the bottom part down. So I want to select everything, and this time I am going to weld it together to make one shape. It's important that I make one shape so that when it comes time to cutting, I have one shape that I'm cutting, and I don't have to cut both the rectangle and the letter. So now we're going to go and we're going to pick another square. And once again, I'm just going to change the fill color just so it's easier to see what I'm doing. Now I want to place this so I have approximately one grid line here over in this area from the top of the line I put there to here. I'm going to unlock this so that I can change the shape, and I want approximately one grid line. It doesn't look like it's lining up. That's just short of a grid line, so I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, that will look pretty good right there. So that's one grid line. So I think what I'll do is I'll pull it down to the second grid line, and the reason I did what I did was just to make sure that I had exactly half. So this is 4 grid lines long. I want to come down 2. This is still unlocked. Now what I need to do is just cover everything at the bottom, and then I'm going to lock this back in place. So we know we're halfway through this line because it's 4 and I'm down 2. Now what I need to do is highlight both, and this time I'm coming down to the bottom right to the slice tool, and I am going to slice it. I only had 2 layers to work with, and that's all you can use on slice. Now it looks fairly interesting. If you look down the side here, you've got a bottom and a top in black. You've got a cut layer here, which you can hit the delete key because you don't want the blue anymore, and the blue B. And there we go. Now we have 2 cut pieces according to here. They still look together here. I am just going to drag this down, leave a fair amount, and let's see if we can line these up a little bit. There we go. Looks pretty much in line. Now we have a letter that's divided in half. We have 2 objects. Our next step is I want to add some text across the middle, and I'm going to add my first name. So let's click on the text, and I'm going to just put my first name, and it's come up with a font that I don't necessarily want to use for my first letter. but it's Montserrat. Yours may be different. I'm going to place it in the middle. Now I'm going to spread these words out a bit because my name's pretty short and this B is pretty big. So I'm going to come up here to the letter space. Right now it's at 1.2. There's an up and down arrow spinner. I'm going to click the upper one and give it some good space. I don't want to move it out of alignment. I'll give it about 6. I think I'll go to 6 on this particular one. Now that looks pretty good for the centering. Now it's spaced out quite a bit. I have Montserrat, which I want for the last letters in my name, but I want to change the B to a different font. So in order to do that, I am going to ungroup my text. Now what ungroup your text is, you'll see that I have B-E-T-T-E here. Each letter is a different layer. So they each have layers of their own. So now I am on the B, and that's the font I'm going to change. And for me, I want to use Path Out. This is a font that I have used for a long time. And it says Path Out swatches or the letters. Well, I want the cutting letters. And you'll see how it changes it, but the size is really small. So now what I can do is I can grow this Path Out and center it. So now I have my Path Out B and the E-T-T-E over here. Now these are centered and this one is a little larger. So I can decide if I want to move these last letters up or down, but I think I'm going to leave it the same. Now what I want to do is cut this out in vinyl. So I'm going to select it all, and I don't want it to move, so I'm going to first group it, and that way I can move it around the screen. But if I go to print it on vinyl or anything else, or just simply cut it as an outline, you're going to find that the pieces all fall apart, and I'll show you what I mean. If I click Make It, it's not going to come out the way you think. You see the letters are all up here. You've got the B up and the B down. Well, that's not what we want. So I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to select it. It is group. I need to come down here and click on Attach. Now it's attached. I can go to Make It, and you'll see it all comes in the right order and it's ready to cut. So that's exactly what you need to do to make a monogram.